There were a couple of items that just by a picture alone being shown to the mother to see if it was recognizable to her, it did bother me. I will say that, well, to me, in my view, I would have just picked it up just in case. I wouldn't go by not
Just released, and it shocked everyone following the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case. For the first time, their grandmother, Belynda Gray, reveals two emotional, long-guarded truths, the kind of truths that could completely shift how this investigation is understood. Because what she says raises a question investigators can't ignore. If her claims are accurate, then the timeline, the warning signs, and the entire focus of this case may have been wrong from the very beginning. Stay with me. This is one of the most important updates yet. Before we get into what Belynda revealed, here's the expanded rundown. In early May 2025, siblings Lilly and Jack Sullivan were reported missing from their rural home in Nova Scotia, a quiet community where major emergencies are rare. Their disappearance didn't just spark concern. It triggered one of the most intense and emotionally charged searches the province has seen in years. Neighbors, friends, and people who had never even met the family found themselves thrown into the same question. How could two young children vanish without a trace in a place this small, this familiar, this open? The RCMP responded immediately with a massive, multi-layered operation. Helicopters scanned the tree lines. Ground search teams covered fields, trails, and riverbanks. K-9 units were deployed across wide search grids. Digital forensics teams worked behind the scenes, analyzing devices, online activity, and timelines. Volunteers poured in. People from surrounding towns, people who drove hours to help, people who simply couldn't stay home knowing children were missing. For days and then weeks, search lines stretched across the landscape in every direction. But despite all efforts, the interviews, the follow-up searches, the community tips, and even the carefully worded details in recently released court documents, the public still hasn't received clear, definitive answers. The official statements remain cautious. The theories keep shifting, and the silence around certain parts of the timeline has only created more questions. Through all of this, one voice has become impossible to ignore: the children's grandmother, Belynda Gray. In a case where so many details remain sealed, she has been one of the few family members willing to speak consistently, appearing in interviews, sharing her concerns, expressing her heartbreak, and pushing for more transparency. Her tone has grown stronger with each passing week, reflecting both the weight of the unknown and her determination to keep the story alive. And now, she has gone further than ever before. Her latest interview includes two new revelations, and both are already raising serious questions. Revelation 1. Belynda says there were warning signs long before the children disappeared. In her most recent interview, Belynda Gray explained that her fear for Lilly and Jack didn't suddenly begin on May 2nd. It had been growing for months. She described a pattern of uneasiness, the kind that doesn't start with one big event, but with a series of smaller moments that gradually build into something you can no longer ignore. According to her, she had been worried long before anyone outside the family even knew something was wrong, and she now believes those early moments carry more weight than anyone initially realized. She explained that there had been previous concerns raised about the children's situation, concerns that, in her view, should have prompted stronger follow-up, clearer communication, or at the very least a more urgent response. These weren't vague, passing worries. They were significant enough that they were shared with people who had the authority to look into them. To Belynda, that alone says something about how serious the situation felt. Most notably, she pointed out that someone from Child Protection Services had visited the home in the months before the disappearance. She didn't frame this as a dramatic event, but rather as a moment that deepened her fear. To her, the fact that a visit even happened suggested that others, not just family members, had seen or heard enough to justify checking on the children's well-being. She said that after learning about that visit, her sense of unease grew significantly. It made her question whether everything was truly safe, whether concerns were being taken seriously, and whether there should have been more consistent oversight. What she emphasizes now is that those early concerns, those small but important warning signs, might have been the key moment where the trajectory of this entire case could have changed. She isn't pointing fingers or casting blame. She isn't making accusations. What she is doing is something deeply human. She is pleading for clarity. She wants to understand what officials were told, what they observed during that visit, and what decisions were made afterward. She wants to know whether more could have been done, or whether something crucial was missed. And as emotional as this revelation already is, her second one is even more heartbreaking. Revelation 2. Belynda says her heart tells her something no family member ever wants to say. In this part of the interview, Belynda's tone shifts. It's no longer about timelines, reports, or official procedures. It becomes personal, raw, and almost difficult to listen to. She pauses, fighting through her emotions, and then says something no grandmother should ever have to express publicly. Her voice cracks as she admits, "My heart tells me these babies are gone." She makes it clear that this is not something she has been told by investigators. It is not based on new evidence. It is not a confirmed conclusion in the case. Instead, it's something she feels, an emotional truth shaped by months of silence, uncertainty, and the heavy reality that there have been no major breakthroughs despite exhaustive searches and endless waiting. For her, this feeling comes from the absence of answers, the lack of new information, and the painful awareness that time keeps moving forward while the mystery remains exactly where it was on day one. This moment is important because it shows the emotional toll the investigation has taken on the family. When authorities stay quiet, the family is left to fill that silence with fear, questions, and worst-case scenarios. Belynda's statement isn't meant to replace facts. It reflects the emotional weight she carries, the devastating thoughts that begin to feel impossible to push away after so many months without even a small sign of hope. But her revelation doesn't end with grief. She explains why she chose to say it out loud, because she firmly believes the public still hasn't heard the full truth. She believes more information should be shared, that more transparency is needed, and that the case deserves an independent review to ensure that no step was overlooked and no early warning sign was dismissed too quickly. To her, speaking openly is not about creating fear. It's about demanding accountability and refusing to let the case grow cold. Whether the RCMP will respond to her concerns remains unknown. But one thing is certain. Her words are now part of the public conversation, and people are listening. These two revelations, the concerns raised for the disappearance, and her deeply emotional belief about the children's fate, don't replace evidence. They don't rewrite the official timeline, and they don't serve as proof of what happened. But what they do is add a new layer of pressure, a new layer of urgency, and a new layer of public awareness surrounding a case that has already been weighed down by silence, confusion, and unanswered questions. When someone directly connected to the family steps forward with this level of vulnerability and detail, it shifts the tone of the conversation. It reminds people that this isn't just an investigation. It's a human story with real pain, real uncertainty, and real stakes. These revelations also add context that many feel has been missing. So much of the public's understanding of the case has come from short press releases, redacted documents, small updates, and long stretches with no new information. But Belynda's voice breaks through that silence, offering insight into what the family noticed, what they felt, and what they feared long before official updates were ever released. By speaking about early concerns and emotional truths, she brings attention to parts of the story that aren't written in a report, but matter to the bigger picture. It forces people to look not just at what happened on the day the children were reported missing, but at everything that may have led up to that moment. And what makes her words even more impactful is the way she shares them. Gray's voice carries weight because she isn't hiding behind anonymous posts or speculation online. She isn't fueling theories or throwing accusations. She's sitting down on camera, showing her face, taking the hard questions head on, and sharing what it feels like to live through something no family wants to imagine. Her honesty, her consistency, and her willingness to speak publicly set her apart. Whether people agree with her or not, they can see that her motivation comes from heartbreak, fear, and a desire for answers, not attention. In a case filled with uncertainty, her voice has become one of the strongest, and these revelations ensure the investigation stays in the public eye. And that's why this matters. Because if those early concerns were real, and if the public still hasn't heard the full story, then someone knows more, someone saw more, and someone may be holding the piece of information that finally answers what happened to Lilly and Jack. I'll continue to update this case the moment new information comes out.